Okay, the agenda for this evening would be I'll be presenting you a brief history about the Thai forest tradition, and then secondly about the general practices on with the focus on the Thai forest tradition, and thirdly is some general comparison between the forest tradition versus the urban tradition, and last but not least, some conclusion. There will be a short, about 6.5 minutes video presentation on the life of a Buddhist forest monk. Okay, next. Okay, let's move on with the brief history of the Thai forest tradition. Next. Okay, the Thai forest tradition is actually a lineage of the Theravada Buddhist tradition. As most of you are maybe familiar that Thailand is actually is a majority Theravada Buddhist tradition. Even before that, just to share with you, it's actually Mahayana as well. Yeah, to a certain point in time in history, then it was a Theravada. So it's part of the lineage of the current Theravada Buddhist tradition. And some of you may be very familiar with the forest tradition. There are many forest traditions around the world nowadays. Yeah, and as we can see on the key on the second point that Thailand, the like Lampuman, that's where I'm trained under and ordained under the Lampuman. He's actually later on I'll be talking more about him. He's the founder of the Thai forest tradition, and then also as well Ajahn Chah, yes, Ajahn Buddhadasa of the forest tradition in Thailand, and there are also forest tradition in Sri Lanka called the Galduwa forest tradition. Yeah, and in Myanmar, the Thongpulu forest tradition, and then there's some tradition in Laos. Yeah, the Laos and Thailand forest traditions are very close to each other. Yeah, because of their neighboring country and the northeastern side of Thailand, so they share very similar cultures, very similar practices in terms of the forest tradition. And there, as you have all of us know, there are also forest tradition in some Western countries like in Australia, New Zealand, Australia, US, and on and also Malaysia. Yes. Okay. Why forest tradition? It's actually a modern revival of the ancient monasticism. We try to live like the life of the Buddha in the forest. So that's basically it. Because the Buddha was born in a forest, gained enlightenment in the forest, and I practice in the forest. So more or less, we try to follow the footsteps of what the Buddha has done uh, in terms of his enlightenment and life in the forest. So that's the core objectives of the forest tradition. Okay, let's start with the origin of the Thai forest tradition. It's also known as the Kamantana tradition in Thailand, in the Thai society or in Thailand. The Thai forest tradition is known as the Kamantana tradition, which focus on meditative practices. Yeah, when I say meditative practices, it's not only on sitting meditation, but also walking meditation in terms of our daily life as well as we go on doing our chores and doing our tasks. Yes. Founded in the early 20th century by Long Puman. Later, I will be sharing you the photo of him. So then some of you may be very familiar with the photo. He was born in 1870 to 1949. Born in Ubon Ratchathani province, this is like Thailand. It's on the northeastern side. Yeah, on northeastern side. Northeastern side, as you know, that during those days of Lampuman, it's one of the poorest region in Thailand. But nowadays, they are more economy, financially and socially are better off. Yeah, so it used to be the poorest region of Thailand or Siam during that time. He was ordained in 1893 under the Dhamma or Dhammayut order. The Thai would call the Dhammayutika as Thamayut. Yeah. So when I use Thamayut, it's actually referring to the same. Yeah, the Thai would use the word Thamayut order. Died at Wat Sudawasa in Sakon Nakhon province. Yeah. And his teacher, or mentor was actually Lompo Sao. Yeah, it's also a picture of him later on. I will show it to you. Born in 1861, passed away in 1941, ordained in the Mahanikaya or Mahanikai. There's actually two order in Thailand, which later I'm going to explain, give you some details on what's the difference between the Dhammayut or the Mahanikai order. Yeah, before this, there wasn't actually any order, but then came later on. Then there's an order institutionalized by the king. Yeah, but I give you the detail later on. And then later on, he was ordained under the Dhammayutika or Dhammayut order, born in the same province as Lompuman in Ubon Ratchathani province, died in Wat Amataya Ram in Champasak province. Okay, actually, Lompuman had no intention of or had no plans at all to actually start or begin a tradition, yeah, or the forest tradition. He was just he ordained and then wanted to just pursue solitary practice. So he sought out secluded places in the forests of Laos and Thailand. Yeah, where he could meditate without interruptions and schedule of community monastic life. They are what you call Pali word tutanga, or in Thai tudong. They are all 13 ascetic practices, which I'm not going to go through tonight. You may actually look it up in the internet. They are all 13 ascetic practices. Yeah. And even though actually Lempuman was ordained under the Dhammayut order, but he wasn't very pleased. As I said earlier, that region was actually, most of them in Ubon Ratchathani in the northeastern side, they are mainly farmers. They are poor farmers. Yeah. So the lifestyle of them are very different from the Dhammayut order people, where they are more towards like in terms of urban folks. Yeah, so the lifestyle are different. So they are more hardcore people in the northeastern side. So he wasn't very pleased in terms of how they were actually practicing and things like that. So, and also the lifestyle, including his teacher or mentor Lampo Sao. So they preferred the Dutanga practices. Yeah, living in the forest, living under the tree or in the caves, yeah, in the open air and things like that. Yes, and so they actually became factions or distinct camp within the Dhamma Yutika order. Yeah, and now I would give you a brief history in terms of the difference between the Mahanikaya and the Dhammayut order during the time of Siam or Thailand. Before the forest tradition was founded around 1900s by Leong Puman, the existing one, they already a Buddhist practice, but it's not like governed, yeah, or it's not like grouped in any sense. It's just a practice. It's just Buddhism, yes. Um, and were grouped under Mahanikaya order after the new Dhamma. Were grouped under the Mahanikaya. So whatever is presently before the Dhammayut order was formed, it's been categorized as all Mahanikaya. And then the newer ones, if they decided to join the Dhammayut order, then it becomes Dhammayut. Yeah. Then that's how it came about. And the Dhammayuttakaya order was actually was a reform movement begun by Prince Mongkut. He was ordained also as a bhikkhu. His bhikkhu name was Wajirananu. Yeah, was also a Buddhist monk before, and he was a prince in the Chakra dynasty of Thailand. Chakri dynasty, sorry, and he's the and later on he became the king, yeah, King Mongkut, yeah, from 1804 to 1868, and also known as Rama IV of the Chakri dynasty in 1833. And some of you may be familiar with the Western movie like Anna and the King or King and I. Yeah, and he's the king. Yeah, he's the king, King Mongkut. Yeah. He entered the monastic life in 1824 at the age of 20 years old. So over the years of his early training, he was not very pleased or satisfied with the training due to his teacher could not really relate the training they were teaching to the original teachings of the Buddha, and also is not very pleased with the serious discrepancy between the Vinaya monastic rules and etiquette of the bhikkhus or monastic with the actual practice. Yeah. So he was concerned that the ordination lines were broken by a lack of adherence to the monastic code. So that made him decided to sort out a different lineage of bhikkhus within the country with the practice that is more in line with the Vinaya. And eventually he found a lineage among the Mon people in Siam who had a stronger practice. So he was reordained in that group, and that's how he began the reform movement known as the Dhamma or Tama Youth Order present in the present day. And the Dhamma Youth Order became formally recognized or institutionalized as its own monastic order by the Thai government in 1902. So with any Thai Theravada bhikkhus not within the order being referred to as part of the Mahanikaya order. So now it becomes a group of Mahanikaya, whichever presently existing one during that time become Mahanikaya, and the new one, the Dhamma Youth Order. Yeah, so you can see that how it was actually uh, came about. And from the few minutes ago, the presentation, you can see that technically the Thai forest tradition, it's like more or less like a standalone by itself. Yeah. But then later on, because of the institutionalized and the government, then it has to be all because need to be ordained under a certain order, then only it will able to be recognized. So they actually Mahanikaya bhikkhus practicing under Lompu Man's forest tradition as well. Some of you may be very familiar with the Ajahn Chah lineage. The Ajahn Chah lineage is actually under the Mahanikaya forest tradition lineage. Yeah, yeah, but they are very close to with the Lompu Man's Thai forest tradition under the Dhamma Youth Order as well. So, and over the many years, the relationship between Yampu Man's forest tradition lineage and the Dhamma Youth Order administration, when I say administration, would be usually during that time is in Bangkok. Yeah, the head of the administration of the Dhamma Youth was not smooth sailing at all. Yeah, they were general disagreements and conflicts until much later in the year 1950s when the Supreme Patriarch or the Thailand Sangharaja of that time, known as Somdet Mahavirawong, uh, the usually in this present day also as well that there's only one Supreme Patriarch actually for the two orders. Yeah, so for the Dhamma Youth and Mahanikaya order as well, and it's the same as present day as well, became ill. And then Ajahn Lee, which he's the direct disciple of Luang Puman of the forest tradition, went to teach meditation to him to help him cope with his illness, and eventually Somdet Mahavirawong recovered, and from that cause marks the turning point between the relationship between the Dhamma Youth Order and the administration and the forest tradition lineage of Leong Puman, and that made Somdet Mahavirawong reverse his opinion of the forest tradition. Yeah, this is the photo of Leong Puman and Luang Por Sao. Leong Puman on he's the founder, the original founder of the or revival of the Thai forest tradition or forest tradition, and Luang Por Sao is his teacher. Yeah, some of you may be familiar or seen this picture before. And this is the prince, king or King Mongkut. Yeah, he's also known as the Rama IV. Yeah, in the Chakri dynasty of present day. Yes. And yeah, this is the on the picture on the left is the Somdet Mahavirawong. That is the Thailand Sangharaja during that time. That and Ajahn Lee, he who helped him to taught him meditation, and eventually he recovered, and the relationship began to be better between the Long Puman's forest tradition and the Dhamma youth order. Okay, let's move on with some general practices in terms of the Thai forest tradition. Okay, over the many years, the Thai forest tradition practice has also evolved and merged after the renewed cordial relationship between the Dhamma youth order and Nampuman forest tradition lineage. But nevertheless, the practice of the Thai forest tradition today still emphasize and focus on meditative practices with close observation of the Vinaya and living a life of seclusion and solitude. And generally, nowadays, we only would take on the Tutanga ascetic practices, one or two or partly, on certain occasion or seasonal, we would take on a full 13 ascetic practices, depending on the situation or on the weather. Usually, when from my experience in Thailand, after the Wasa, like in the month of November, December, and January, yeah, then they would be the weather. It's much better, cooler. In the northeastern, then we would venture out into deeper in the forest and practice the Tutanga practices. But nowadays, in terms of forest monastery practices, we still do observe some of the aspect of the 13 Tutanga, like usually one meal a day. Yes, that is one of the 13 Dutanga practices. Yeah, one meal, no breakfast. Yeah. Mm. And I will give you now in terms of the forest monastery. And also I'll give you a comparison between the forest monastery and solo or Tutanga monk out on his own in the forest. What's the difference between their practices in terms of their life? Yeah. Okay, usually the forest monastery, the location ideally to be located at the edge of a forest within manageable walking distance to a nearest village or town. When I say manageable walking distance, it's very subjective, but typically will be about, I would say, 5 to 7 kilometers away from the nearest village. Yeah, because the monks would walk to the nearest village or town for their alms round. But if the monastery is uh, in, uh, uh, too far from the nearest village or town, then if the monastery has a support, then they will take some vehicles or some volunteers would take them out to the nearest village or town and then do their own arms round there, then return with the car as well. Yeah. And infrastructure in a forest monastery, these are the typical or common you find. Some of you may have experience practicing in the forest monastery, so some of you may be very familiar in terms of what I'll be sharing in terms of all this. There will be a multi-purpose hall. In Thai, they call it the Sala Hall. Yeah, then there would be a ordination hall or the Obosot hall or no, also known as the Sima hall. I will be sharing you some pictures of it on the infrastructure or on the amenities of the forest monastery. Then you get to at least have some picture in mind of what I'm talking about. Yeah, and then there will be also a kitchen where they also lay people will do their own cooking as well. Yeah, and also the offerings of food and things like that. That's where they will do their work in there. And then there will be toilets and shower rooms for the lay people and for monastic as well. Yes, and then there will be office administration office building or 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 allocate like a small space for the administration office or building, a library as well. When I say library, not like a library that we have in the public library. This is just a small little library, yeah. And also a workshop or ropes dyeing, laundry, and sewing area. Yeah, the workshop will be a place where we do our whatever repairs and things like that, repairs of anything. Yeah, that will be the place. Ropes dyeing, we dye our own ropes. Yeah, um, quite frequently. It used to be every 2 weeks during Lampu months days, because they all use natural dye. Yeah, so but nowadays we don't do it that frequently. Yeah, because and also we use some other modern synthetic dye, so it doesn't come off that easily. But during the early days, yes, because it's all fully 100% natural, then once you wash, then it was definitely will be washed off as well. So that's why they during that time they do it almost one day before the new moon or the full moon. Yeah. And then the laundry area, that's where we do our washing our ropes. They also a sewing area. Yeah, that's where the sewing of the ropes or anything we need to patch. Yeah, that's the. And then there will be ladies dormitory for male and female area. The guests from outside guests, people come and live or practice. Then there's there will be rooms or a hall or an area for them to sleep. Yeah. And then there's also a monastic common area where the monastic or the monks will gather in the evening or do whatever their chores. Yeah. And there is also a monastic kuti huts. Monastic huts. Kuti is yeah. Some of you may be familiar with the word kuti. Yeah, it's a Thai word for like hut. Yeah, I mean for monastic, it's a small one. Yeah, it's scattered in the forest. Yes. Typically it's on an individual hut. Yeah, we live individually, scattered across the forest. And these huts, it would depend. Some would have a toilet attached, or is located just right outside the hut, and some is without toilet. So you have to walk to a common toilet facility. Or if the forest is really big or the monastery is still huge, then maybe you have a halfway one. So you can do your, especially for the big business. Yeah, at the small business you can usually do it in the forest, or do it in the hut and then in a bucket and then just pour it out. Yes. And also walking meditation path, I'll be showing you some photos of it as well. And also we have some monastery would have a steam bath. Yeah, steam bath. Because uh, the Thai forest tradition, they like steam bath. Yeah, they would have their own herbal or medicinal bags, or they put it into a boiler. Yeah, I think there's a few dozen or few herbs leaves and put it and boil it. Yeah, then we will go into this room and get the steam bath. Yeah. And also in Thailand, we have the crematorium area. Yeah, with the monastic will do actually the crematorium for monastic as well, and also lay people. So there will be a crematorium area as well. Yeah. And utilities like the pub electricity, it would depends on the monastery. Some the electricity is only available in the common area, like the main multi-purpose hall, the kitchen. Yes. And then the monastic huts or kuti, some places there's no electricity at all in the huts. Yeah, but only in the common area. And some, it's the monastic area, the huts, they will use solar panel or solar cell system. And also some monasteries, they would entirely the whole in common area, and as well as the huts would have the electricity from the public electricity company. Yeah, and if the hard site completely, if there's no solar system as well or no public electricity facility, then usually we would use candles or battery lighting. And some places would have a hybrid system as well, both electricity from the public company and also a solar system cell. Yeah, and water. Usually it would depends if there is a piping from the outside coming in from the public utility. Then there will be water in the common area from the public utility, and usually also quite commonly on the hut side, the kuti side, we gather rainwater. Yeah, so there is a big container outside the huts. We would collect rainwater, yeah, to be used in for the monastic use in the kuti side. Yeah, telephone. Yes, depends. If it's too remote area, then there will be no telephone, and sometimes also no mobile signal. It depends. So it would depends on the area coverage. Yeah, and just to share with you some common daily routines. The timing and routine varies depending on the monastery, but this I'll be sharing with you a general one, which more or less in Thailand they practice this routine. The morning call or wake up call on a bell or gong. Usually they would have a bell. They hit a bell or a gong. Hit a gong. Yeah, that is a traditional practice during the early days. They don't have a like electronic alarm clock and things like that. So that's why they still they use this. And some monastery would still just to keep up follow the tradition, and they will still use it. Yeah. But the 3:30 a.m. is actually optional. You can always get up earlier. Yeah. Yeah. The 3:30 is just about 3 o'clock. It's just the official time. Yeah. But you can get up earlier if you want. And then there will be morning chanting and meditation. Some monasteries would you can do it individually. You don't have to go to the hall. So uh, you can do it in your kuti, but some monasteries would require all the bhikkhus, all the monks to be at the main hall to do their chanting and meditation. So it would depends on the monastery. Yeah. And then once they are done with that, and then by dawn they will go on their Armstrong. Yeah, this is sort of like a compulsory for more for the forest tradition. Yeah, we go on Armstrong in the morning. Yeah, about 6 o'clock. As you can see, there's no breakfast for us, so you have to walk quite a distance barefooted. Yeah, yeah. In Thailand is or in a tropical country like Thailand, Malaysia, yeah, it's barefooted. Yeah, but if you are in a cold climate or winter season, then it's okay still maybe to be on some kind of boots or some kind of foot wearing. Yeah. So as you can see that it's still on empty stomach. We will walk like 3 to 5 kilometers on empty stomach and come back, return, still no food. We got to wait for the food. Yeah. And about 8 o'clock, 8:30, then only comes the actual meal. So on the Armstrong, sometimes if it's too far away uh, to walk, then there will be transportation. Yeah, they would some volunteers would take us there to the nearest town to do our Armstrong. Then we get a ride back to the monastery. But some monastery, if there's no support or no volunteers, then we have to walk all the way to the nearest village or town. With sometimes there will be guests that came to stay with us, then they will come along with us. But if there's no guests and things like that, then we have to go alone and or one or two monks. Then we have to carry our own another bag to put the food. So we have to carry the bowl and the bag as well. And if we are lucky, then on the way back we get a ride back to the monastery. But if not, then we have to walk all the way back to the monastery as well. Yeah. But then if the monk is independent on their own or is a solo monk, they technically he doesn't need to go to back to the monastery for his meal. He can be in the town itself. He can maybe some in Thailand it's quite common that the restaurant or cafe will open up, and then the monks can dine in their restaurant, or some homes also they open up the front yard of their home and invite the monks to have their meals there, and then before they go back. Yeah, so it's very much depends. And then about 8 or 8:30 there would be a meal. Yeah, they will be that's the formal meal. But before the formal meal, usually there will be like a short chanting, short Thanksgiving, or a short Dhamma talk before the meal. And the meal usually there's actually two ways in offering the meals. One way is like a buffet table. Then the most senior will be in line to take his food in the buffet table. Yeah. Then go back to the main uh, uh, to the dining area. Usually, all we are seated on the ground. Yeah, on the ground for our meals. We don't sit on table and chairs. Yeah. And there's another way of there is like a tray with a roller. Then the lay people would offer it to the most senior monks first. They will roll the tray, then offer the most senior. You take whatever he requires, then push it down the line. Yeah, that's the second method. Yeah, it depends on the monastery on what kind of system they are using. Yeah. And usually in Thailand, if it's in a buffet table, then it got to be offered dish by dish. Yeah, yeah, dish by dish from to a bhikkhu. Yeah, yeah, to a bhikkhu, not a samanera, to a bhikkhu. Got to be offered. Yeah. Then after the meal, we will do our clean up the dining area, clean up our bowls. Sometimes we get the help of the volunteers or guests that stayed there to wash our bowls and us as well, to clean up the dining area. And after that, there will be personal time. Yeah, it's up to you to do your studies or do your meditation or do your laundry or whatever you plan to do. And also, and sometimes there will be also work period. Yeah, after the meal. When I say work period, usually will be sweeping the compounds of the monastery, uh, brooms. Yeah, we make our own brooms. Yeah, over there. Yeah, later in the video, we'll be sharing with you, and also toothbrush and toothpick making. Yeah, during those days of like Dampuman, they all living in the forest. They don't have the common like what we are using now. The toothbrush and things like that. They will make actually from the wood. Yeah, of the jackwood. Yeah, and then carve it and things like that, pound it, and then make like a and like a toothbrush, and at the end also they will have a sharp little thing for as a toothpick. Yeah, and then the work period will also consist of cleaning the area. Yeah, washing the toilets. Yeah, we usually the forest tradition, the monks do it themselves, or with the help of volunteers and guests as well if there's available. And then maintenance and repairs of the buildings. And also if there's some kind of new building construction going on, then we also need to do some brickwork and things like that, piping. Yeah. And also we do funeral for monastic and also laity. If it's monastic, then there's a lot more work for us. Yeah, in terms of making decoration, making preparation and things like that. For the monastic, laity tend to be much easier because they will be helping most of the time. And yeah, and the work could be in-house within the monastery itself, or sometimes if there's other branch or other monastery required more manpower, then we have to go over to help out. Yeah. And then that is the after the meal. Yeah, it depends. Sometimes there will be personal time, work period, and then about 3:30, 3 or 3:30, there's a work period again. Usually this is just a small sweeping the area and cleaning up a bit. Yeah. And then about 5 or 5:30, that will be our happy hour. Yeah, we do our happy hour. Yeah. We can have our beers and wines. Surprise, yeah, beers. No, just kidding. Beers will be like root beers and ginger beers, and also sparkling juice. Yeah, that's our happy hour, and some other allowables like dark chocolate, dates, and things like that. And there's some local Thailand kind of allowables, yeah, and fruit juices, yeah. But in Thailand, they have a custom in terms of the fruit juice. If it's the fruit is bigger than your fist like that, then it's not allowable. That's their local custom. But actually, that is just a total Thailand local custom, yeah. But not in the Vinaya aspect of it, yeah. And after that, yeah, there will be evening chanting. It would depends again. Has likewise like the morning chanting. It would depends. We do it in a group if there's guests, or some places if there's guests and stays there, then has a support for them. Then the monks would also do it. Otherwise, on a normal day, if there's no guests and things like that, is on your individual. Yeah, you can do it on your own in your kuti and on your heart. Yeah. And then yes, and after that it's either you go to bed, go to sleep. We usually sleep on a floor or maybe a platform with a thin mattress, not too thick. Yeah, thin mattress like a futon. Yeah. And there are also some places duty roles. Some of the monks we take turns, yeah, to like guest monks. So there's any inquiries and things like that, now that, yeah, we would communicate with the guests. The guest monk will communicate with the people if there's any inquiries. And then the work monk is the monk that delegate the work tasks, yeah, from the work period. Yeah, okay, who is also, you need to do this, you need to wash that. So usually this is done after the meal. Then after the meal, washing up and things like that, then we would stay back to get instructions from the workman. Is there any work to be done? Yeah. And also there is the abbot attendant, yeah, to attend to the abbot of the monastery. uh, if there's any help or needs from the abbot, then he will attend to it. And in the Thai forest tradition, there is a Thai word called Kawat. Kawat is actually the in-house monastic etiquette and protocol. Uh, Usually, this would consist of how uh, their own local Thailand custom, and then because there will be many people who come and live in the monastery, monastic, from very different background, from and also lay people. So there will be like a etiquette and protocol in terms of how to do things, and what should be done and what should be not be done. Yeah. So it's like to keep the harmony between each other, between the monastic and also the lay people. Yeah. So there's a Kawat, but each monastery, the forest tradition would have a few that is across the board, across all lineage would have the same protocol, but some monastery would have a slightly different one. So usually monastic like myself or monks, if we go to the sort of a different lineage one, not directly a branch of monastery, then we would ask what's the Kawat of this monastery, so to understand it before we stay. Yeah. Okay, that is all about the forest monastery setting. Now I'll be talking about the solo or Dutanga or self-retreat monks. Okay, for the solo, Dutanga, and solo or self-retreat monks, they are alone. Um, they would actually live alone in a forest, in a temporarily or permanent shelter, or in the caves. Complete seclusion and solitude away from the forest, monastery, communal activities for a period of time or long term, and only out from the forest to a village or town to collect alms food daily or a few times in a week. Yeah, some of these monks on the Tutanga practice. They don't eat every day. They eat maybe 3 or 4 times or 5 times in a week. Whenever they feel that they can come out and go on their alms round, and then they can they can have their meal within in the town itself, or sometimes there will be invitation by the lay people, the houses near the village. As we go on alms round, they would invite us to dine in the front yard of their home. They don't have to go back in the forest to have their meals, and after that after the meal, and they go back to the forest. Yeah. So and after that is their own schedule, whatever they like to do. Yeah. Not like the forest monastery. There's a schedule. There's a more communal work, and whereas the self retreat to Tanga, they have more freedom. Yeah. And next will be on the Oposata days. Some of you are quite familiar with the Oposata days. The Oposata days are actually the day on the new moon and full moon day of the month. Yeah. And that is the day that is important to majority of uh, monks, and also to certain lay people. There is a recitation of the Patimokkha. Patimokkha is actually the Pali word. We will recite the 227 bhikkhu rules and etiquette, and also the bhikkhuni with 311 rules and etiquette. Yeah. But in Thailand, there's officially it's not recognized. Yeah, bhikkhuni is only you call it the mechi. Yeah. And sometimes we would do the patimokkha in-house. Usually it's in the afternoon or in the evening. Yeah. Or also we may go outside to a monastery, to other monastery, to recite the patimokkha. There's only one monk would recite by heart. Yeah. Technically, so far I've seen in Thailand from my experience, it's all by heart. Yeah, by heart. There's only one bhikkhu sitting uh, uh, in the hall. Yeah, and then there were monks surrounding it. Yeah, and then he would chant the 227 or recite the 227 rules and etiquette. Yes. Later, there's a video, a short video. They will be presenting this Patimokkha chant, so we can have a look at it later on. And also on Upusata days is also what we call a head shaving day. You can actually shave it one day before you want, or on the day itself. Yeah, it's a custom in Thailand on the full moon day for Dhamma youth order monks, and for the Mahanikaya monks is twice every 2 weeks on the new moon and full moon days. Yeah. But in the Vinaya, it's actually 2 finger length actually. Yeah. So this is just a custom. Yeah. So everyone would look the same when you chant the Patimong or recite or clean shave. Yeah. Yeah. And in Thailand is custom that to shave the eyebrows. Yeah. The eyebrows here. The shaving eyebrows was due to there's a period of time in history. There was a civil war between uh, Burma during that time and Thailand. Yeah, so to distinguish between whether it's a Thai monk or a Burma monk, then you can see that if it is no eyebrow, then okay, that's a Thai monk then without eyebrows and things like that. But nowadays they still follow that custom. So yeah, we have to follow that. Yeah. So and in some monasteries, in Oposata days, usually on the full moon, yeah, it's intensive practice on the new and full moon days. Some places will be no sleeping. Yeah, the lay would come in in the morning of the new moon or full moon day to come and practice, even including the lay people. Yeah, they will come in the morning, give dana to the monks, and then after that do their practice, whatever is necessary, work, chores, till uh, and then till the evening you would practice together with the monks, sitting, walking meditation, and also dhamma sharing with the lay people throughout the night until the next morning. Yeah, without sleep. Yeah, it's quite common on the full moon day in Thailand, and if some places would some monks or would go on food fasting on for the day. Yeah, so they don't eat at all. Yeah, and wasa or race retreats. Some of you are very familiar. Yeah, in terms of the uh, Wasa or rains retreat is a 3-month annual rains retreat observed on the first day of the waning moon in the month of July to the full moon day in October. Yeah, and it's a tradition to remain in one place during that period. We may go out. It's not to say that we have to be in that monastery or the place throughout the whole day and throughout the 3 months period. Actually, we are allowed to go out, but then with a rule of we can go out at dawn and return by dusk time. Yes, and also allowed to go out of the place if it's a valid reason and return within 7 days. If it's like, for example, maybe if the other monastery require some help in terms of construction and things like that, or some kind of teaching, or maybe your or some monks are sick or things like that, or your dad or mom or whoever, yeah, you're able to return and care for them. Yeah, and typically during the wasa or rains retreat, the monks would intensify their practice during this 3 months period. Yeah, by maybe some of them would take on a few more aspects of the Tutanga practice. Yeah, some of them would, or some of them would intensify their meditation, or in terms of their studies or sutta studies. Yeah, whichever they determine to do or spend their wasa period. In Thailand, it's quite common for lay people to come into the monastery to practice. Yeah, we together with the monks for the next 3 months. Yeah, and also in Thailand, or to ordain temporarily for this period. Yeah, for the next 3 months. Yeah, so some of them would do that as well. And as you can know that monastic seniority is actually measured in terms of the wasa period observed. So that's why you're able to see that even though if you are ordained now, uh, zero, but then you have to wait. Let's say you're ordained in December, yeah, but then you have to go through another 6 months in the next following year. Then only you get one wasa thing. Yeah, so yeah, that's how it's been calculated. Yeah. Okay, just to share with you in terms of the ropes. Yeah, this is the forest tradition color and ropes. During the Buddha's time, the rope wasn't like this. Yeah, yeah. It's actually made from rags. T chiwara. T is representing the 3 types of ropes. Yeah, and chiwara means ropes of any color. Yeah, but this is the forest tradition color. And as you can see from the first picture, the antara wasaka, the lower part, is actually the Pali word called antara wasaka, or the Thai we call it the sabong, or Malaysia we can call it the sarong. Yeah, and all these 3, the antara wasaka, utara sangha, like this one, is called the utara sangha, and the sanghati. Just a second. Yeah, this is the sanghati. You can see. Yeah, it's a double of this actually. What I'm wearing here, double. Yeah, and it's folded. Yeah, this is the sanghati, and all these 3. the sarung, this and this sanghati would have a. Some of you may be familiar. There's a pattern, yeah, yeah. There's a, you call it the katina pattern. It's a rectangle, many rectangles, and then you stitch together. Yeah, it could be something like this. Yeah, if you can see, just a second. Yeah, you can see that there is that rectangle. Yeah, yeah. Then you stitch it together. There's a cut. They call it the katina frame. Yeah, but then nowadays, nobody really uses the katina frame anymore. It's like just we draw up the pattern on the white cloth and things like that, and then cut it, or and then we just stitch it. Yeah. And the sanghati, which is this one. Yeah, it's only for bhikkhus. Yeah, yeah. Only bhikkhus would have this sanghati to wear it over across this shoulder. Yeah, and samanera would not have this. Yeah. So and the Thai forest tradition, there are other cloth as well, like the angsa cloth. They call it the angsa, the upper body inner cloth, which looks something is wear all across the body, which is something like this. Yeah, something like this. There's a tie here, and then you wear it across like this. Then the right hand side part is bad shoulder. Yeah. Mm. This is the Thai forest. Some tradition don't have this, but the Thai forest tradition have this angsa cloth. Yeah, and we also have the bathing working cloth, or it looks like something like this. Yeah, this is different from the other one, the Antara Wasaka. You can see that there is no pattern, no katina pattern. It's one piece. Yeah, this is usually we wear it during bathing. Some because if we are in the forest, onto Tanga or whatever, not in the monastery, then we take a bath in the river or what, then we will wear this. Yeah, and also wear this during working or for sleeping. Yeah, we will wear this. So it's like one piece. Yeah, and also we would have the sitting cloth like this. Yeah, yeah, it's like a square sitting cloth. Yeah, yeah, sitting cloth. The sitting cloth is actually because the forest tradition, we tend to sit on the ground most often. Yeah, and but nowadays actually we there is actually like a material sorry a cushion or a cloth mat. Yeah. Actually, then this is actually not really needed, but then to continue on with the tradition, we usually there is even the modern mat, and then we just put it on top as well. Yeah, so yeah, just to keep up with the tradition. Yeah, and then that's the sitting cloth, and then we have the lap cloth as well. This is the lap cloth. The lap cloth is when we have our meals. So because as you know, we are seated on the ground, on the floor most of the time. So uh, we put it this on the lap, open up, can open up and then put it on the lap, so the food will not like come. If you drop the food, it doesn't stain this Uttara Sangha. In Thai, they call it the Jiwon. Yeah, this is called Jiwon. Yeah, that's the lap cloth. Then we would also have a bowl drying cloth. Yeah, to after you done washing your bowl. Some they have a common cloth, so it's sharing, or you can have your own individual one if you want. Yeah, and what else? Shoulder bag. Yeah, shoulder bag. This is how it looks like more or less. Yeah, this is a shoulder bag. Yeah, yeah. Then we also have a belt. Yeah, to tie the sarong. Yeah, and also and waist pouch. There's also a waist pouch to put your belongings a bit. Yeah, and also we call it a tudung bag. There's also a tudung bag where you have a bag to when you go outing into the forest or what, where you can put your bowls, your ropes and your other requisites into the bag. Yeah, and then there's also we have the meditation umbrella. Some of you there will be a picture of it later on. Meditation umbrella. Yeah, it's like an umbrella. Then there's a mosquito net dropping down. Yes. And then and also last but not least, there are also some extra clothing during if you live in a cold country with winter and or cold season like in Thailand in the month of December and January on the northeastern side. Usually it can get very cold though in the early mornings. Yeah, like 13 or 14 degree at times. Or if you staying in the caves or in the forest, it can get very cold. So you actually allowed to have this extra clothing, yeah, to keep you warm on top of the traditional three piece. Yeah, yeah, the chiwara. Yeah, and the color of the ropes, as you can see, this is the dark brown. It's actually from the natural dye from the jackwood tree. Yeah, we have to chop it into small pieces and things like that. Then we have to boil it and then concentrate it. It would take not only jackwood, some monasteries, a lot of places they will have their own other ingredients, some other leaves, a few dozen leaves. Yeah, each monastery I've been to so far across, there's a few that is not common. There's some their own secret recipe. Yeah, it's not only jackwood. Yeah, and you have to boil it and concentrate it. Sometimes it can be take one whole day. So usually a few times in a year we would have we do it more to so we can keep this. We call it like the mother dye. Yeah. So subsequently we don't have to like uh, take the whole day to boil it to concentrate. So we can mix it. So it's more concentrate. Yeah. So it's save a lot more time. And also nowadays they also so modern synthetic dye for this more or less with this color. Yeah, so usually we'll mix it. So it's much easier nowadays compared with those days. Yeah, and some of you can see in Thailand there's the light orange color as well. That's the Thai Dhamma Youth Order for the urban monastery or monks, and then they have the orange Thai in Thailand, the Mahanikaya Order Urban. Yeah, this the bright orange. Yeah, but the Ajahn Chah Thai forest tradition would be more or less the same. Yeah, has this the forest tradition because technically they are all belong to the forest tradition as well. Yeah, but then just to share with you, about 7-8 years ago, there's an order from the Sangharaja of Thailand to request the forest tradition to wear the same color as them, the light orange. But then the elders of the forest tradition don't agree. So they came to agreement in terms of like, okay, it's voluntary. If you come to Bangkok for any high level ceremonies and things like that, if you decide voluntarily to wear the light orange, then okay, yeah. So they came into terms with that, yeah. Okay, on the bowl, yeah, this is very important for the forest tradition. Yeah, without the bowl, there's no food to eat for us. Yeah, during the Buddha's time, most likely it will be a clay bowl. Yeah, like some of you may have seen like the Indian how they cook their curry. Yeah, it may look like that, a clay type of bowl. But nowadays, it's made from steel, iron. In Thailand, you're still able to get handcrafted monk's bowl. Yeah, it's handcrafted. They pound it and things like that, make it into the bowl and things like this. But this is expensive and heavy, very heavy, expensive and heavy. But nowadays we have the stainless steel bowl, like this one here. Yeah, like this one here, stainless steel bowl. Yeah. hmm Yeah, usually it comes in 7 inch, 8 inch, or 9 inch. But in Thailand, the more common one is 9 inch. Yeah, yeah, and then 8 inch. Yeah, 7 inch. Very rarely depends. Yeah, and it comes with a bowl lid. Yeah, this is a bowl lid. Yeah. hmm Then also a bowl stand. This is a basic one. Yes, and some they have more more intricate design. Yeah, they have a more artist. Yeah, this is just a simple one. Yeah, bow stand, and then they have also uh, bow cloth covering. Yeah, this is the covering. Yeah, and the stripe. Yeah, to hang over the shoulder, and then yeah, then there is a, if you decide to use your fingers to eat, yeah, also you can, but we can have our own Chinese spoon. Yeah, and there are also some optional accessories like bowl lid cover, like some, like in the picture, you should able to see like the picture on the right hand side here. Yes, yeah, they have the bowl lid cover. Yeah, and then also bowl stand cover. Some some would have decide like the bowl that this is a stand and there's a covering on top of it. Yeah, then the bowl. Yeah, bowl stand cover. And then as you can see, there is a difference between the Dhamma and the Mahanikaya order bowl design, the bowl cover design. And on the left hand side, you can see that, yeah, that is the Dhamma order bowls cover style. And then on the right hand side, that's the Mahanikaya bowl style. Yeah, I missed something just now. Yeah, and then we have another cloth that we have is actually like this. This is offering cloth. So in Thailand, there's a custom that when we receive offerings from female, then we will use this cloth. Yeah, to accept their offerings. Yeah. Mhm. Okay, next. Okay, yeah, then now for some pictures. Yeah, this is how it looks like in a forest monastery, a multi-purpose hall. They call it sala. Yeah, and the surroundings of the forest monastery, typically they would also plant herbs, medicinal plants and things like that. Yeah, to be used in the forest. And also normally they would also bamboo. They would also plant bamboo. We can use bamboo for a lot of things to build platforms and some other things. Yeah. So this is how it looks like. It's called sala in Thai. This ordination hall is actually for bhikkhu ordination. Yeah, for samanera ordination, it can be done in any hall, but for higher ordination, it got to be in a Bosot hall. It's not any other hall. Yeah, to be valid, it's actually the Obosot hall, or they call it the Sima hall. You can see that the surrounding area, actually the outside the surrounding is like Sima stone. Yeah, so this is the ordination hall. Some monasteries would have their own, but some monastery would not have just a general purpose one. And this one, you, if there's ordination, then you have to go to that monastery to conduct that higher ordination. And this is how the monastic kuti looks like, or hut. Yeah, small in is scattered across in the forest. Some is with hut and some is nothing at all. You have to go to the common one or halfway house. And also on the right hand side, you can see there's a walking meditation path. Typically, we have our own meditation path, walking meditation, just right outside the our huts. Yes. This is the crematorium where we do crematorium for lay people and also open burning. Yeah, so there's a lot more work if there's a monastic that has passed away, then the open burning, and this is for lay. Yeah, okay, next slide. And this is a picture of a solo or tutanga or self retreat. As you can see, the first picture, that's the meditation umbrella. Yeah, they would tie a string across two trees or something to hook on the umbrella. Yeah, then there's a mosquito thing. Yeah, they would meditate there as well. And also overnight in it. And also the last picture on the right hand side is like actually like a platform. Yeah, without any walls by just a curtain wall, yeah, a cloth wall, yeah, and you will stay in there, yeah. So that is how a solo tutanga or self retreat, yeah, monks live. Shaving, uh, we would use the and sometimes you can do it alone. But if you're not familiar or if this is your first time and things like that, you will get your experience of bleeding your head and things like that. Yeah. But after a while, you get used to it. That you can use that classic and also some monasteries would allow you to use the cordless or electric shaver, the modern one on the right hand side. But those some more extreme one, they don't use this. Yeah, they only use the classic one like they on the left hand side. But actually the modern electric or cordless one is better to save a lot of resources and and also, yeah, instead of disposing the blades into the landfill and things like that. Yeah, so yeah, but it depends on the individual monks. And just to give you a general comparison between the forest tradition versus the urban tradition. Okay, as you can see, the forest tradition, we live in the forest, seclusion and solitude and self-practice. We emphasize on meditative practices, on practical base, on reflection, contemplation, living with Dhamma. The forest is the Dhamma. We experience dukkha to understand dukkha, to develop wisdom, and also communal activities. Getting to know our own mind, actually, to get to know ourselves better, and first, and then later on to the heart, to the core teachings of the Buddha teaching or from the suttas. And the living condition are usually simple, basic items around and or brought in. Some of the food are brought in by lay people or guests, yeah, to into the monastery, or some places also they cook in house. Yeah, and then compared with the urban tradition, they live in a town or city, more socially engaged with the general population. Usually, they would involve in the local study, more theory based on chantings and services to the general population of the town or city. Usually, the urban tradition, they have better and modern amenities. They have better food. The optional alms round. Okay, that is a brief comparison between the forest tradition and the urban tradition. And for conclusion, I would like to share with you a 6.5 minutes video in terms of life of a forest Buddhist monk. Yes, let's play the video, please.
Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddham Bhagavantang Abhivademi Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami. ชีวิตของเรามันลำบากครับสตาคารณัตโตปุเปนวะอิทังปุปปิจังคาตบังโพธิอันธาสมัจจนัญชาตถาปฏิกูจลนัญชาอาสนะอัญญตนัญชาปานิยภริโภชนิยุปัฏฐตนัญชาชันดารหานังกุณังชันดาหรนังชะเตสัญเยวะอจตุโคสถานังภาริสุทธิยาปิอาหรนังชาอุทุฆานัญชาภิกขุกันนนาชาภิกขุนีนะโมวาโดชาติ